There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Honorable members and honorable guests may be seated. Statements by members. Are there any member statements? Honorable Tabete. Before Honorable Tabete, let me remind the House that, honorable members, in terms of our rules, the time allocation for statements is as follows. Each statement is 1.5 minutes. Response to statement is 2 minutes, and a maximum of 5 statements are allowed under this rule. Honorable Tabete.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The African National Congress want to commend the Department of Community Safety and Security and the Department of Education in their case to go to school and search for a scourge of crime taking place at our school in the province, for conducting and continue random searching operation throughout various districts. The various weapons like drugs, including daga, were found in our learners in different schools. That include among the schools Orovilani Secondary School, Mafemani Secondary School, in Mala. It's the schools around Bushbuckridge and Mashishini Secondary School and Kellysville Primary School in Tabachewu. The department has done the good work, Honorable Speaker, to make sure that the schools are safe and the educators are safe by searching and get all these weapons. We want to request the department, both education and safety, to continue to search another schools around the Mpumalanga province so that our learners can be safe and our educators can be always safe in our various schools in Mpumalanga. I thank you.
Honorable Shongwe.
Ngibonge kakhulu somlomo ngibonge nelendle yeshamthetho nabo bonke abakhona ukusuka kuNdunankulu ukuyogcina phansi kumalunga ahloniphekile kanye nehambeli zethu. Sibonga kakhulu kumhlonishwa ngalesiphakamiso asiphakamisile esiqiniso as a Department of Community Safety, Security and Liaison, sibambisene ne Department of Education. We have made it our program this year ukuthi sizovakashela zonke izikolo unexpectedly so because isiZulu sithi ligotshwa lisemanzi okusho ukuthi uma sifuna sikulwe necrime kufanele sivale lapha esikolweni kubantu bethu ukuthi mabakhula bazi ukuthi icrime ayibhadali. Zinengi izikole esihambela sibheki kuphela indaba yama drugs nezilimazo sibheka nalento ebizwa ngesilungu kuthiwa ibullying lapha esikolweni siye sayibona yenzeka elikhanyisweni secondary school eMalahleni eWitbank in particular sesiyisolvile nase sikolweni bathi iRegi nentswayisile zinengi ke le izikole ngengibale zonke sibuye eMelo kubothafa sithole ilimazo nebullying sibuya kubolindile siyesathola ingane engafakanga ngisho uniform esikolweni iphethe umeso omkhulu owesabekayo engicabanga ukuthi ke sizohlala necabinet yasempumalanga ke sibheke ukuthi undunankulu ngeke yini ne-budget and finance basithi qatha lokuthenga ukuze sikhone ukuthi le program siyenze throughout ngoba ezimpumalanga seyize ikotshwe ngisho naye eGauteng ngiyathemba babonayo bayibonile nase Gauteng ukuthi bayingenele siyabonga.
Honorable Makarenye.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The ANC is appalled by the recent crime incident which happened in Mdumiseni Primary School in Basoi. An armed duo entered the school pretending to be parents and held teachers in the staff room at gunpoint, where they robbed them their valuables such as cell phones, laptops, as well as undisclosed amount of cash. Honorable Speaker, whilst the two suspects were apprehended, it is concerning that our schools are now targeted by criminals. We expect that schools must be always safe. We therefore call upon the Department of Education and Community Safety, Security and Licensing to find mechanism on how to expedite processes of ensuring safety in our school. Such incident what happened in Mariti at school called Skapandoda Mashabia Secondary School. I thank you.
Honorable Shongwe.
Somlomo ngicabanga ukuthi lesishukumeso siyafana nalesi siphakamiswe ngumhlonishwa uThabethe. Vele njengoba ngisho ukuthi uma siphakanyiswa ngabahlonishwa bonke ngijabula ukuthi basiphakamisa phambu kwandunankulu walempumalanga ku government okusho ukuthi uma siyocela lokuthenga as a department sibamsene ne-education ukuthi sibe ne-dedicated program yokungenela le ikolo ngoba akusiko ukuthi labantwana emasoyi nasemariti bangenela lobugebengu nje ngoba busuka lapha esikoleni busuka ngaphandle emakhaya eyigwebengweni bese nalabantwana bafunda leyo nto ukuthi cha impilo ifanana nale manje ke kufanele sibambe lenhloko isavela siqede ngayo uma ngabe abanye abantwana bathola a necessary treatment from emaphoyiseni ngizawucela ukuthi lendlu yesishaya mthetho ne-SGB nabahlali basempumalanga basiyekele basilekelele basisupport ukuthi silungise lesimo ngoba seyiphume kakhulu esandleni lento ma siyabonga.
Honorable Morgan.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise on behalf of the Democratic Alliance to deliver a statement. Over the past couple of years now, the licensing departments in many of our local municipalities across the province have been failing to deliver an efficient, fast and adequate service to the residents they serve. In Governor-Mbeki local municipality, the city of Mbombela, Victor Kanya, and many others across the province, issues rise as a result of either the systems being offline, internet connectivity problems, and also not having the required paper on which to print license discs on. Some of these licensing departments, like the one in White River, Governor-Mbeki, Victor Kanya, and the like, even have early closing times while still failing to assist residents who have been made to stand in snaking queues day in and day out. Honorable Speaker, it cannot be that daily residents of all ages who require assistance from our licensing departments have to come to the department day in and day out, up until they are given assistance. Can I request that this House conducts an investigation into the waiting times at all of our licensing departments across the province and to devise a strategy to lessen the waiting times experience? I thank you.
Honorable Shongwe.
Somlomo ngiphinde futhi ngibonge lethuba ngibonge nakumhlonishwa ngiyacabanga ukuthi njenge Department of Community Safety Security la izine responsible for le complaint eqhamuka kumhlonishwa kungumsebenzi wethu ukuthi sihambe siyoyibheka nokuthi singayilungisa kanjani ngoba undunankulu umama uRefilwe Mthweni bekakhuluma ngayo nje kulamaviki aphelile ukuthi lama functions ekuthiwe siwathathe kiwo wonke labo masipala sesiwathethe wonke yini umehluko wenzekayo njengamanje kusalungiswa ke noko angeke kulunge overnight siyayazi leyo problem umhlonishwa okhuluma ngayo siyawabona lama queues ahlukumeza abantu bakithi ukuthola usizo very slowly and sizoyi-attenda leyo matter sisho futhi ukuthi ne-RTMC ibambisene nathi kule viki eliphelile ngalosine bebalontsha le online service engicabanga ukuthi nayo izoba ngumthelela wokuthi abantu bakithi basebenze kalula noma incede abantu bakithi siyabonga.
Honorable Waba.
Madam Speaker, I want to deliver a member statement on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus. The Freedom Front Plus welcomes the Saka Liga court ruling, which determines that bureaucratic lockdown regulations that infringe on businesses and enterprises' freedom to trade must be abolished. This will now promote a fair business market. The Freedom Front Plus also wanted to congratulate Saka Liga on achieving this first comprehensive rollback of BEE through litigation. This proves that continued pressure from opposition parties and civil rights organizations is of the utmost importance to hold our government accountable. The government's attempt to abuse the business world for self-enrichment and overblown tenders was thwarted by the continued pressure. This welcome decision by the Constitutional Court will benefit specifically small and medium-sized businesses and also bring down overinflated prices and spending. It is of utmost importance to keep fighting for a market-directed economy in which businesses can trade freely and fairly without government interference.
Honorable Mkacho.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think we welcome the statement as a department working together with the MER. We are seized with the responsibility to continuously create an environment where all those that are involved, especially in the liquor industry, are able to practice their businesses within the legislative framework. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mkabela.
Honorable Speaker. The EFF is shocked and devastated by the tragic incident that took place in Emalahleni, where a man was shot and killed like a cow by the security guards of Wang Philly shop in the presence of his wife while rushing outside the shop to attend to the child that was showing to have been attacked by the unknown sickness. Honorable Speaker, this man was going to save a life of his 12-month-old son when this happened to him. And there was nothing wrong that he did except that he was busy with his shopping and having clothes in his hands. But instead of the security guard to follow him outside or chase him in case he was trying to run, he chose to kill him as a solution. This is the assignment we're giving to the Safety and Security Department to take into account and make an urgent investigation on the matter. Thank you.
Honorable Shongwe.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Somlomo once more. Sibonge nesishukumiso esiphakamiswa ngumhlonishwa. Ngisho ukuthi kulendlu eshamthetho lenkinga khuluma ngayo siyayazi. Izolo nje njengoba ngikhuluma yenzeka izolo. Mina no provincial commissioner siyile khona lapho. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi uma ngabe ubonile lapha yana kube kunabantu aba over 2000 ebabadoyitoya against le traffic office. But le security guard ebe bacabanga ukuthi lo bhuti udutshulwe yiphoyisa kanti udutshulwe i-security guard eshop. So ke si addressile leyo matter wonke ama units amaphoyisa ahlangene aya lapha yo manager lento lelo security guard ekungasilo lase South Africa ngokobuzwe as I'm speaking liboshiwe lisejele and amaphoyisa are going to make sure ukuthi they oppose bail from that particular incident. Thank you very much.
Executive statements. I am informed that there are no executive statements. Motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice? Honorable Lubisi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move a motion without notice on behalf of the ANC to commend the Mpumalanga Provincial Government through the stewardship of the Honorable Premier when she announced that Lufthansa Airlines through the Eurowings division will soon establish a route from Frankfurt in Germany to Mpumalanga. Noting that this is a significant milestone as one of the economic drivers in tourism, it will boost our hospitality industry and further support the SMMEs, particularly those in the tourism sector. Further noting that whilst the COVID-19 had a devastating effect on the lives and the livelihood of our people, it has also offered us an opportune time to further tighten our belts as a province. Such a milestone to establish a direct route from Broad is a confirmation that this government is tightening its belt. The ANC therefore impress upon this House to commend the provincial government through the stewardship of the Premier for such a sterling milestone. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion. Agree to? Yes, so agreed. Honorable Lachmanare.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move a motion without notice on behalf of the African National Congress for this August House to commend and applaud police for their quick reaction that led to the arrest of a suspect. Noting that a woman was reported missing in the Peanut policing area by community members after suspecting foul play. Upon their arrival, the police investigated the scene and began digging inside the house. As suspected, the woman's body has been discovered and positively identified by her family members. Further noting that this young woman was allegedly killed by her boyfriend, and once again, it is disheartening that women continue to suffer and die at the hands of those who should be protecting them. Honorable Speaker, we condemn the gruesome incident that took place, and we also extend our appreciation to those who alerted the police, leading to the arrest of the suspect. At the same breath, we want to send our heartfelt condolences to the family and believe that the justice system will accordingly deal with this matter. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to. As so agreed. Honorable Nyembe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I rise on behalf of EFF to raise a motion without notice that we welcome the arrest of Jabulani Roland Nkosi, the former acting head of Department of Education, who is linked to over 21 million in personal protective equipment, PPE. We hope this arrest will send a message to other heads of departments who does the same, and they will learn that they will go to jail and not politicians. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to. As so agreed. Honorable Sithole.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move a motion without notice on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, noting that Tabacho Boarding School opened its doors for the first time in the academic year of 2020. However, it did not open without challenges. The boarding school was incomplete at the time, the water wasn't connected, and the electricity connection was faulty due to copper cables being stolen, and the sewer system was also not connected. Further noting that Tabacho Boarding School has started its third academic year, 2022, on a bad note, with the learners of the boarding school being sent home merely days after schools reopened this year due to the school not having water. Learners have been sitting idle at home, and it appears that there is no agency from the provincial government side to get these learners back to school. I therefore move that this House compel this government to urgently intervene and resolve the water crisis at Tabacho Boarding School. I further move that the learners must return to school and learning must continue. Finally, the department must take responsibility for delaying the learning and must assist learners to catch up on work that has been missed. I so move.
Yes. Very important.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to. The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to. The motion is defeated. Honorable Weber.
Madam Speaker, I hereby move on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus a motion without notice to congratulate President Cyril Ramaphosa on his statement during his State of the Nation address on 10 February, when he asserted that businesses rather than government created jobs, and that the state must create an environment in which the private sector can invest and unleash the dynamism of the economy. By saying that the government wants to unleash the potential of the private sector for job creation, President Ramaphosa is in agreement with what I, on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus, have said on so numerous times in this August House. I thank him for that. I have on so many occasions explained that both a capable developmental state and a dynamic and agile private sector work required to create jobs. It was thus encouraging to hear our President speak along these same lines. When it comes to possible long-term solutions for unemployment, the private sector, which provides about 90% of jobs in most countries, offers an excellent starting point. The private sector has the potential to enhance economic growth and address unemployment in Mpumalanga. To harness the driving force of the private sector, government needs to initiate bold reforms that could create a more dynamic and innovative private sector to facilitate more inclusive and sustainable growth in the long run. Government provides the scaffolding for education, infrastructure, basic science, security and health that makes good jobs possible. To argue that the privatization of entities and contracting out are measures that will assist in solving this crisis is simply ridiculous. All this will lead to reduced employment levels, and this will thus add to the burden of the government in terms of job creation. I so move, Madam Speaker.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to. The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to. The motion is defeated. Notices of motions. Are there notices of motion? Honorable Mfuke.
Thanks, Honourable Speaker, and greetings to the honourable members. Honourable Speaker, I rise on behalf of the mighty EFF to raise a notice of motion that in its next sitting, this August House to debate the root cause of the loss of life of the 9 young learners from Mayflower, Puluzi in Chifabel municipality, who died in a taxi accident whilst coming from school traveling back home. I so move.
The motion is noted and will be dealt with accordingly. Is there any notice of motion? Honorable Weber.
Madam Speaker, I hereby move on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus that this House takes action to contain a massive acid leak that has reached the Loskop Dam, threatening the country's second largest agricultural irrigation scheme. The toxic, polluted water contains highly concentrated levels of radioactive metals and salts that are hazardous to all forms of life. The polluted water flowed from the Wilge River into the Olifants River and has now polluted the Loskop Dam. All life had been killed in 58 kilometers of river affected by the spill. This also threatens the Loskop Dam Nature Reserve that has a high species diversity. We asked the Premier, Refilium Sipani, and the MEC of the Department of Finance, Economic Development and Tourism, Honorable Vusim Kachwa, to take control of the situation and to take remediation steps to remedy the effects of this pollution. I so move, Madam Speaker.
The motion is noted and will be dealt with accordingly. Formal motions. I am informed that there are no formal motions. Orders of the day. The Secretary shall read the first order of the day.
Order number 1, debate on the Premier State of the Province address.
I have a speaker's list in front of me. I will now call upon the Honorable Mlombo from the ANC. You are given 8 minutes.
Honourable Speaker, I'm happy and proud to stand here and greet you today. To greet the Honorable Premier, to greet the leader of government business, to greet the Deputy Chief Whip, the Chair of Chairs and the Deputy Chair of Chairs, my colleagues who are members of the provincial legislature, and the whips of the opposition, and also to greet the public as large. Honorable Speaker, we are assembled here today to advance, consolidate, and defend the achievements and gains of our democratic breakthrough. We are assembled here today to give direct practical expression to the Freedom Charter of 1955, when it says the people shall govern. We meet here today to reconfirm our contract with the people of Mpumalanga, whose objective is to change the lives of the people to be better. Yes, indeed, Honorable Speaker, we are here to declare for all our country and the world to know that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people, that our country will never be prosperous until our people live in brotherhood, enjoying equal rights and opportunity. It is in this context, Honorable Speaker, that the African National Congress welcomes, appreciates, and accepts the State of the Province address delivered by the Honorable Premier, the first woman Premier of our province, and the youngest Premier to ever have led Mpumalanga, an all-rounded cadre of our movement, a product of our revolution. The Premier has made us proud as the ANC because her speech was a blow-by-blow account of the progress that we have achieved in advancing, consolidating, and defending the gains of our national democratic revolution. The speech complies and conforms with the National Development Plan, whose objective is stated as follows, I quote, to encourage the citizens to be active in their own development, in strengthening democracy, and in holding their government accountable, I close. The speech, it's a comprehensive, elaborate, and detailed account on the implementation of the ANC 2019 manifesto, whose objectives, amongst others, are the following: to transform the economy in order to serve the people, to advance social transformation, to build safe communities, to fight corruption and promote integrity, to strengthen governance and public institutions, and lastly, to build national unity and embrace our diversity. We are proud, Honorable Speaker, that in line with this 2019 manifesto, the Mpumalanga government is implementing big projects which are catalysts to the growth of our economy. We welcome the fact that the fresh produce market is nearing completion. It has created thousands of direct and indirect jobs. It has contributed to the growth of our economy. It has empowered our communities and breathed life to the small and medium enterprises in the province. That is why we are proud. Honorable Speaker, tourism is the most important pillar of the Mpumalanga economy. So the agreement between the provincial government and the Lufthansa airline to have direct flights from Germany to the Kruger International Airport in Mpumalanga is welcomed. The progress on the God's Window Skywalk project will not only benefit or increase tourist attraction in the province, but it will also benefit the people of Raskop, Matibiti, and the entirety of the Tabacheu. Honorable Speaker, the Mpumalanga Youth Development Fund, it's a strategic intervention to mitigate the challenge of youth unemployment and alleviate poverty. The jobs created through this initiative are welcomed and appreciated. The 44 youth projects that have been approved have the potential of creating thousands and thousands of jobs. Now that the command has been set, Honorable Premier, now that the directive has been given, Honorable Speaker, now that the economic growth trajectory of the province has been identified, we want, as we close, to urge the Honorable Premier to ensure that the Trade and Investment Conference takes place as planned before June 2022. We urge the Honorable Premier to ensure that the Lina Malachi Tertiary Hospital takes off this financial year. We urge the Honorable Premier to ensure that the collaboration between the municipalities in the province in implementing the district development model is in fact practicalized. The Nkomazi Special Economic Zone, if well implemented, Honorable Speaker, has the potential of creating thousands and thousands of jobs and building a new town in Mpumalanga post-2019. We therefore urge the respective MECs to ensure that this project is budgeted for in the 2022-2023 financial year. We urge the Premier to fast-track the construction, maintenance, and rehabilitation of strategic basic infrastructure in the province, because if well implemented, this strategic infrastructure has got the potential of radicalizing the implementation of the Mpumalanga Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. We recommit ourselves to the meaningful participation in the mainstream economy by all the people in Mpumalanga.
Time is up, Honorable Member.
We recommit ourselves to build a developmental state. Yes, indeed, Honorable Speaker, as I close, we cannot ask for more because the Premier has made us proud. And I mean it, we are proud. God bless the people of Mpumalanga. God bless our beloved, beautiful province. I thank you.
I will now call upon the Honorable Mashilo. You are given 8 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, our Honorable Premier in our midst, members of executive, honorable members, and indeed our community that are present today. One of the youngest revolutionaries, Thomas Sankara, once said, I quote, "Our revolution is not public speaking tournament." The 2022 SOPA has brought hope to the people of Mpumalanga as far as integrated human settlement, job opportunities, and economic development. Amongst others, as I said, we welcome the progress made on the establishment of the new hotel, the conference center in Steve Tshwete municipality. Siyabonga Ntonankulu for the good work. The people of the province can find easy to travel and sleep in a 5-star Hotel of Radisson. Generally, and broadly speaking, efforts towards increasing integration using spatial planning as a tool have created increased accessibility, brought about more equitable and affordable living arrangement, and increased the opportunities for the people of various demographics to access opportunities which they were previously restricted from accessing. The spatial planning of the apartheid regime, which began with the 1913 laws, has made it very difficult for a democratic government to break the spatial divide in totality. It is well known and a fact that the apartheid sought to separate and racially divide South Africans. This was not just done through the past laws and separate development, but even in the way black people were settled in their own country, especially in the urban areas. Generally, there is a scarcity of well-located land in the prime areas, and where it is available, it makes greater sense for the city to draw higher rates and taxes from the land by offering it up towards development that will realize this. If such land is privately owned, the owners could similarly be more interested in profit than giving the land and make money, whereas our people are languishing in the squatter camp. That is a matter that should concern. Indeed, Honorable Premier, in the address of 2022, you have dealt with this particular issue, and certainly there is hope to the people of the province. For the state and especially local government, this implication relates to service delivery, the ability to deliver on a special transformation and goals fiscal viability. Honorable Premier, we are a developmental state. One of our responsibilities is to develop together with the business. We are not a liberal, hence will not support any concept that seeks to say government cannot create jobs. President is misquoted in out of context. What we are saying is indeed government must do that. It's for this reason that research has confirmed that the Premier, as you have said, in the province, we are now going to have a city called Nkosi City, a city that is almost 8 billion. It will be done by the state together with the partner, the business that we partner. And in doing so, Premier, we shall establish, create many jobs. That confirms our agenda as a developmental state, as the ANC. So therefore, we cannot be pushed to liberal thinking that is only private that has the duty to do that. People of this province voted us and voted a better life. And that's exactly, Honorable Premier, what you have said. Indeed, Premier, the research has further confirmed that our people, in the main, they need service sites. It is for this reason that we've got 600 sites at KwaMhlushwa in Nkomazi, servicing of 750 sites at MLU Extension 24, servicing almost 7,000 in Rondebosch in Steve Tshwete municipalities, just to mention the few. And indeed, the latest been 3,500 sites that we're about to do in Chief Albert Lithuli in Caroline. That confirms what our people in the province, Honorable Premier, that they can build if they are being given site, then we, government, continues to building for their house. And I'm certain, we've seen that our people, they can build a bigger houses. Therefore, government we can deliver more houses if this approach, Premier, as you correctly said in your address. Honorable Speaker, this is a clear indication of an understanding of a participatory democracy shown by our people. Government, as the Honorable Premier has articulated in a speech, will not stop providing the need with the shelter, since our people are not equal. The Bill of Rights of this Constitution reflect and indicates that where our people can't, the government must indeed respond, and we shall do exactly that. Honorable Speaker and members, the right to adequate in housing is a human right recognized internationally human rights law. As part of the right to adequate standard of living, exactly this province is ready and we're up to scratch to develop our area. One of our area of concern is to acquire land throughout the province, and that land shall be developed. We have once called upon our farmers, those who've got land, to release land to the state so that we can share the wealth of this country as our constitution correctly reflected. As per section 26 of the Constitution of the Republic, everyone has a right to have an access to adequate housing. The state must take reasonable legislative and other measures within its available resource to achieve progressive realization of this right. The right to adequate housing ensures that people enjoy physical and mental health and live in a safe place in peace and dignity. As you will attest to this, housing provides shelter, place to sleep and relax all the time. In 1977, Oliver Tambo said, I open quote, "Comrades, you might think it is very difficult to wage a liberation struggle. Wait until you are in power. People will be expecting a lot of services from you." Indeed, Honorable Premier, you have confirmed it in the address that our people of this province expect more from this government. And indeed, we are equal to the task. Program that we have released, Honorable Premier, speak to this particular challenge that were forewarned by our former president. The informal settlement will be upgraded through the provision of 2,934 service stands, will invest in 9 priority human settlement and housing development areas using the integrated residential development program. Will ensure the provision of bulk water and sanitation infrastructure services and other amenities, which include the constructions of 7 child care facilities and community ward. Will ensure security of tenure through the issuing of 3,078 title deeds across the province. Will deliver a total of 2,453 housing units through the various programs such as the Rural Housing Program, military veterans, as well as the FLIPS as a program. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Member, your time is up. Honorable Mkabela. Honorable Mkabela, you are given 11 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Leader of the official opposition and the only movement for radical economic emancipation, the only hope for the hopeless, vulnerable and dejected masses of our people, the EFF, Honorable Sedive. All honorable members of this August House present and all the people of Mpumalanga, I greet you all in the name of the economic freedom in our lifetime project. Honorable Speaker, let me start by sending our deepest and sincere condolences to Honorable Sedive, his beautiful wife, and the entire family for the pain they suffered for the untimely loss of their baby on Thursday, the 24th of February, 2022, just before the SOPA, the 2022 SOPA, which took place last Friday. Honorable Premier, I hope and believe that you are quite aware that as the Premier, you are the father and mother of all the people of Mpumalanga, rich and poor, the have and the have not, the employed and the unemployed, the sick and the healthy ones. These entire people are looking up to you and your government, in particular your executive, for survival and for a better life individually so. The unemployed and the poor have been crying loud to you and your government as their parents for help, but not to no avail. The communities from all the villages of Kachibane, Marapiane, Lifiso, and Lifisan, Loading, in Dr. J.S. Moroka, the communities of Mbuzini, Steenbok, Langelop, Ntunda, Skuman, and Mgobodzi in Nkomazi, and many more others. And Bushbuck Ridge, Msogwaba, Danchi, Moloto, Buga, Kwamhlanga, Hlazanche are still without water and proper roads 27 years into democracy, whereas year in, year out, billions of rands are being spent for the water and roads infrastructure that never arrived. Honorable Premier, the people of Nkandla in Tabacheu, Lydenburg, Ward 2 are being removed from their homesteads by the municipality because they want to sell the land to developers and demolish their hardly built houses under your watch. And the question to you is, where must they go and where will they get another money to build their houses? Premier, during your 2019 SOPA, you promised to buy land for the people of Ward 1, 2, 3, and 6 Leandra in Govan-Beki, service it and construct 5,000 units for them, but 3 years later, nothing is happening, and as a result, there is always riots in that area. Honorable Premier, what kind of a parent are you who kills their own children? The recent tragedy that took place in Mpuluzi Chief Albert Lutuli under Gersibande, wherein nine young learners died in a taxi accident, was caused by your government. How can the Department of Education shut down a school where children were just walking in from home and refer them to a school far away from their homes without providing them scholar transport as required by the scholar transport policy, which stipulates that no learner must walk more than 6 kilometers to and from school? Your government must take full responsibility of the death of these 9 poor young learners and compensate their families. As the EFF will meet with the parents and our lawyers shortly to prepare for the litigations against your government because it acted irresponsibly in this matter, leaving out the vulnerable parents with no option but to hire any cheaper transport in order for their children to access education. Honorable Premier, what kind of a parent are you who send your children to dance in a pool of poverty by allowing thousands of job losses without any intervention at Optima Mine in Steve Tshwete and Lily Mine in Barberton? As a parent and more particular as an African, you and I know very well that if one person loses his or her job, many people will suffer because each one of us look after a minimum of 10 family members. Honorable Premier, this is your province and you need to take a decisive action and pay detailed attention to these issues. Otherwise, your plan for sustainable job creation will remain a pipe dream. Honorable Premier, shift your focus a bit on EPWPs as your main job creation program and defend the current jobs in the mines and the agricultural sectors. Honorable Premier, talking tough on corruption is not enough, but taking immediate action against those found to be involved in the corrupt activities is the solution. Unlike your predecessor, who protected most criminals in his administration, you must act differently and ensure that all culprits are brought to book and are washed away from the system. You must clean this system because it was left rotten to the core. Perhaps this can be the only legacy you will have left behind in the absence of any. We must remember you as Mrs. Clean, so that even those who will come after you will always be referred to your commitment in the fight against corruption, because corruption robs our people the quality services, the service delivery that they need the most. Honorable Premier, your children with special needs all over the province are crying crocodile tears. They still don't have a school after you and your predecessor promised them. The current school they are using in Nkomazi is not conducive, and as a result, it does not cater for their special needs. Maybe in your responses to this debate, Honorable Premier, you must also give account as to what happened to the initial Barberton plan for the school and what happened to the 6 million spent for the school design, etc. And we must be taken into confidence about the progress so far in Witbank, which you announced in your previous SOPA as a new place for the school. On the provincial state-owned entities, Honorable Premier, credit must be given where it's due. Our 3 provincial state-owned entities are one step in the right direction, with MTPA and MER performing extremely well and obtaining unqualified audit outcomes. However, I advise you to keep a close eye on MEGA. It needs a close monitoring and continuous guidance because it is the nerve center for economic growth, SMMEs, development, and job creation in the province. The investment arm within the entity is of paramount importance, and as things stands, it is not biting, it does not have teeth. Therefore, serious attention must be paid in that area, otherwise the whole entity will lose a meaning. Furthermore, the boards must stop politicizing the entities, more especially the MTPA board, because if they continue doing that, they will reverse the gains done by the entity and destabilize it like it has been happening with Mega before. You must caution them to refrain from interfering with administrative work of this entity. This is not an ANC branch, but a government entity with the sole responsibility of servicing the people. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, your speech is incomplete without mentioning the intensification of the war against women and children abuse. The rise, young lawyer, man. The rise in the murder and rape cases of women and children, as well as patriarchy, is a cause for concern, and we need to collectively stand up and wage this war and confront this demon wherever it raises its ugly head. I am happy that for the first time we are led by a woman provincial commissioner of SAPS in the province, and I am confident that the delay in rape and murder cases of women and children will be the thing of the past. And I also hope and believe that all culprits and perpetrators of GBV will be brought to book without fear or favor, no matter who they are and whatever positions they occupy. I am expecting a tangible, sound, achievable, and concrete program from both you and the Provincial Commissioner for the total fight against GBV until it is zero. I thank you.
Honorable Sithole, 5 minutes.
And we have a woman standing here. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand before you today proudly representing the Democratic Alliance. Honorable Premier, it is a fact that you have become the master of crafting words that never match your actions. Honorable Premier, in your SOPA on Friday, you relied heavily on general statements and scapegoating the COVID-19 pandemic again for all the failures in your administration. Let me start by welcoming the establishment of the Frankfurt, Germany direct flight route to Mpumalanga, if it will ever happen. Just last week, the whole of Mpumalanga, Kruger Mpumalanga International Airport didn't even have running water. Which tourist would want to arrive at the airport with so many challenges like not having running water? Honorable Premier, you couldn't even bring yourself to call on Mega to assist in building our battered economy. And I'm increasingly worried because you never said a word about Mega. You never provided a mandate to Mega to grow our economy in your speech. You know why? Because you are overwhelmed by Mega's dismal performance year after year, but you don't have what it takes to shut Mega down. You know, Mega must go. They failed you. They failed the people of this province. Honorable Premier, since 2019, you have been speaking about transitioning to greener economy by us seeking alternative sources of energy. If your words matched your actions, you would have been in a position to cushion the jobs which may be lost now. You should have actioned this transition in 2019 already, but again, you failed to do so. It is still talk and no action. Your words never match your actions. Honorable Premier, you mentioned the God's Window Sky Walk project, and I think honorable members have also mentioned it. The idea is good on paper, as it means to capitalize on the tourism potential of that area. The reality is that it would not draw a lot of tourists without us addressing the dilapidated roads in the area. Who want to drive on such damaged roads? If you really want to promote the tourism industry in our province, then prioritize fixing severely dilapidated routes that leads to tourist destinations. Honorable Premier, what a noble act to name the upcoming envisioned tertiary hospital to be built in Emalahleni after our late Melina Malachi. Honorable Premier, I just want to say, if you really want to honor Umama Lina Malachi, fix our roads. Many accidents on our roads are purely due to the conditions of our roads, and we commend you naming a hospital after her. please fix our roads. The DA also welcomed the announcement that SANRAL has invested 9 billion to upgrade and fix our roads. But the question remains, which roads, Honorable Premier, will SANRAL extend their mandate to fixing roads like in Emalahleni, Dalstrom, Victor Kanye, which is the responsible of government, which is the cause of many fatalities, or is SANRAL only fixing national roads or provincial roads? In your response, I hope you will be specific. Honorable Premier, the residents of James Rock and Tembisile Hani municipalities have been without a stable water supply from 2013. Despite false promises made by this government, the DA welcomes your intervention with the Department of Water and Sanitation in accelerating the implementation of Loskop Bulk Water Project. Honorable Premier, you made a promise that you will table the findings of the Special Investigating Unit regarding COVID-19 PPE procurement investigation. You said you will table it in this House, which singled out the Department of Health and the Department of Education, alongside your failure to act on recommendations made by the SIU. I believe you'll give us an update in your reply on Friday. Your voice in tackling corruption head-on in our provincial departments is disappearing, and that is worrying. In 2019, the Honorable Premier mentioned that you are considering various options to conduct lifestyle audits on your entire cabinet. Are you still considering that, Honorable Premier? You said nothing about lifestyle audits in your SOPA on Friday. We wonder why your words never match your actions. Honorable Premier, in your SOPA on Friday, you mentioned that the people of Mpumalanga overwhelmingly voted for the ruling party on the 1st of November. One would say Honorable Premier doesn't live in this province, or the losses you suffered might have overwhelmed you to an extent that you are out of touch with what really transpired on the 1st of November. Honorable Premier, the majority of our municipalities are in perpetual chaos. The ruling party came below 50% in Steve Churchill, Lekwa and Governor Mbeki. Mkondo is governed by independents, Lekwa is governed by LCF, and your party can't even elect mayors in Nkomazi and Msuka Lekwa. I guess that should be overwhelming for you, Honorable Premier, because you wouldn't use the word overwhelming if you were not overwhelmed. Actually, what happened on the 1st of November was quite the opposite when it comes to the ruling party. I have no doubt, Honorable Premier, that you will be remembered for crafting well-crafted speeches and making grand announcements in your SOPA that lacked implementation. You will be remembered for your words that never matched your actions. If this House continue to defeat motions that seeks to bring learners back to school, like Tabacho Boarding School, then we are going nowhere, Honorable Premier, and I thank you.
Honorable SOPA, given 8 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, let me greet and acknowledge the protocol as observed by honorable members already. Let me commend, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Premier for a well-delivered, crafted State of the Province address last Friday. It clearly reflected the milestones we have achieved thus far and detailed the trajectory which this administration will undertake in advancing and realizing the constitutional right of the people of this province by ensuring that they become part of the social and economic scheme of things. The sole
Speaker, can I just request, can you maybe just put the mic down a little bit? I think it's a bit high. I don't know if it's just, thank you, Speaker.
The sole purpose of the address is predicted on advancing the national democratic revolution through government programs and intervention. Honorable Speaker, in advancing the above, let me forewarn the people of South Africa and in Mpumalanga in particular, that we have mammoth task before us. Whilst we advance the spirit of the National Democratic Revolution in fighting poverty and dealing with inequalities that continue to persist in society, we are faced with counter-revolutionaries who, in in the public domain pose as revolutionists. They work closely with the imperialists to advance the agenda which is entirely opposed to the National Democratic Revolution, because they want to advance their agenda through exploiting our people, whilst we work towards ensuring that our people are part of economic mainstream and can easily access social and economic amenities. They want to take this country back to where it was. They have forgotten that majority of our people have been destitute for years and were deprived their human rights. They have forgotten that our people were deliberately and systematically excluded from participating in the economy, and their only involvement was to sell labor to those who own the means of production. Their obsession, Honorable Speaker, is the ANC and not the people of South Africa. And last year, they clearly articulated that by identifying themselves with political parties which are based on one racial identity, let me assure our people that the ANC is their only beacon of hope and their vanguard of their interest, and they must never despair, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we must also take note that the persistent challenges relating to water supply due to the rapid population growth in Tembisile local municipality for the past 7 years. It is because the municipality does not have a bulk water source supply. We commend the Honorable Premier on the announcement that the low-scope bulk water project will be implemented in seeking to provide the people of Tembisile honey with the 20 megaliters will only reduce minimally the current demand, Honorable Speaker, which is the 80 megaliter a day to the municipality. That needs to be met, Honorable Speaker. We are therefore putting that the Honorable Premier must consider to increase the megaliters that she has initially put in the program. In Dr. J.S. Moroka, Honorable Speaker, due to the drought in the past 3 years in the Mkondo Dam Basin, the municipality is facing one of the most severe water shortage in a decade. The speeding up of the Rustenburg Dam water project will significantly reduce the current challenge facing the municipality. If that, Honorable Premier, can as well be attended to, it can assist the people of Dr. J.S. Moroka. We are therefore calling the Honorable Premier to provide the support to both Dr. J.S. Moroka and Tembisile in pursuit of getting a sustainable source of bulk of water to these two municipalities. We are commending, Honorable Speaker, the Premier on the construction of a tertiary hospital in Emalahleni, that to be named as Lina Malaji. It is always appropriate to honor our fallen heroes, Honorable Speaker. The construction of this hospital will realize the commitment we made of quality and accessible health care as enshrined in the Constitution. And the project will further, the further project of this magnitude will create jobs to ensure that community benefits into that project, Honorable Speaker. In closing, let me quote the O.R. Tambo when he said, open quote, "The fight for freedom must go on until it is won. Until our country is free and happy and peaceful as part of the community of men. We cannot rest. Ngokutsho njalo, ngiyathokoza Honorable Speaker, ngithi kancane kancane umhlonitsho undunankulu uyaqhuba siza kufika la siya khona.
Honorable BT Shongwe, you're given 8 minutes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Umama Wesive, Umama Urifile Mtweni Tsipane, members of the Executive Council, honorable members of the Legislature, Director General and HODs that are present here, as well as the Secretary of the Legislature. Let me greet you this morning. In the spirit of Ubuntu, i-ANC nayo ithumela amagama ukuvelana nomndeni wakaSidibe ngokulahlekelwa ingane yabo. And we say ngesiswati akulahlwa mbele kongakufela. Madam Speaker, on this occasion of the debate, allow me to thank the Honorable Premier for delivering an excellent State of the Province address. May I also express my support for the roadmap as outlined by the Premier, which is captured in the priorities of the province medium-term strategic framework. Indeed, the Honorable Premier's address was not just a rhetoric and just statistics, but the government's commitment to improve the lives of the ordinary citizens of the province. And progress made this far by the 6th administration is appreciated. As we engage in this debate, it is important to note that the Premier's address put things in proper context and demystify the myth that the ANC government has not made strides in changing the lives of the people of Mpumalanga, because it did, and it still does, under the leadership of our Honorable Premier. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated to all the levels of vulnerability in the arts, culture, and recreation centers, as the industry was the most hard hit by the pandemic. We have witnessed artists experiencing depression, which resulted in some committed suicide, like Ubaba Patrick Shai and Rick, who was just buried today, just to mention a few. May their souls rest in peace. But at the same breath, we want to encourage others to seek for professional help in terms of their mental health. The pandemic will pass, and as a nation, we must remain standing. And we want to applaud the leadership of the Premier for what has happened together with the MEC for Health in terms of pushing the pandemic backwards. We have witnessed many people losing their jobs, and that has resulted in a huge and unforeseen challenges for the government. Uma nje ngingabekisa kancane somlomo ukuthi nalabo maka imbala labathengisa etitaladini nabe kube madima kakhulu ukuthi bachubeke nekwenda emashishini ngokuphazanyiswa ngiyo le COVID. Kodwa noma ngabe kunjalo akulahlwa mbele kongakufelwa, funa sichubekele phambili ukuze sive sethu sime singashabalala. This has led to a large number of unemployment, loss of jobs, and companies falling because the economy is not generating new opportunities in the form of employment and opening of new enterprises on the hoped-for scale. Madam Speaker and honorable members, the Honorable Premier spoke at length about all of us to support the district model and make it the most efficient vehicle by which government will be working with social partners with other departments to make a single plan for the province, which will help to create jobs, fight poverty and unemployment. The people of Mpumalanga are indeed optimistic, Honorable Premier, that the envisaged detect of the NDP will be realized by 2030. Our optimism is informed by the province economic recovery plan that show hard work, dedication and a firm commitment by this government to tackle long-standing barriers and to create better lives for the citizens of Mpumalanga. To this end, we need to invoke the moral regeneration movement charter of positive values, which entailed the following, amongst others: to improve material well-being and economic justice, restoration and anchoring values enshrined in the Constitution, including respect for human rights and accepting accountability for one being and action. Madam Speaker, this directive placed upon us in the arts and culture sector is not one we take for granted. Indeed, we are going to create and facilitate community structures for this to occur as a point of departure in deepening community engagement and opportunities to build a socially cohesive society. Madam Speaker, honorable members, this debate is taking place on the first day of the Human Rights Month, which is commemorated to remind South Africans about the sacrifices that accompanied the struggle for the attainment of democracy. Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that the department continues to support the High Altitude Training Center. I know, Honorable Premier, that the honorable members of the legislature, they went to Emakazeni to do their oversight, and we are still going to appear, but we want to emphasize that even the Honorable Premier is concerned about this project. But at the same time, honorable members, they must know that this project is of high magnitude. It needs many billions, and the Premier is in the process of securing the triple P so that we can see that it is implemented. But at the same time, we want to welcome Premier that we are zama kufaka kancane, kepha sitawucela ukuthi i-department le implementako isebenzise le mali ukuze ingakhoni kubuyela emuva, isibuyisele emuva le project ingabonakala ukuthi yenda njani. Sacela futhi honorable Premier ukuthi sinemali as a Department of Culture and Recreation lehleli kaMega lekufanele ivuselele ama theater njengoba sathi ukuthi i-night life eMpumalanga ayikho, and labantwana laba actor they need to go to Joburg bayofuna emathuba emsebenzi. Sicabanga ukuthi uma singaniketwa le mali noma le scope sisikhulu kakhulu singakhona ukuthi mhlambe sivuselele yinye sicale ngayo yasemalahleni sibuye eGedisbandi kanye naseMbombela. Honorable Premier, sengi finalizer, siya appreciate kakhulu ku prioritize kweli bridge lase eThekwani. Sibonga kakhulu ukuthi alichubeke ukuze abantu bakithi bakhone kufikelela lapha baya khona. Si appreciate ne SEZ kule yandzawo le poverty stricken lebitwa ngokuthi inkomazi. Siyathemba ukuthi itawakha emathuba emsebenzi. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, may I conclude with the words of the President of the
time is
Republic
up,
of South
honorable
Africa.
member.
Latsi, there are times when we have fallen short. There are times when we have made mistakes, but we remain unwavering in our determination to build a society that is free and equal at peace. Thank you.
Honorable Weber, 3 minutes.
Madam Speaker, through you, Madam Premier, I listened carefully to your speech, the State of the Province address. It was well drafted. It was well presented. Despite our differences, I respect our Premier and I wish her well. Madam Speaker, but unfortunately, if you look outside this August House, if you look at our province, there's a completely different picture emerging. Our road network is collapsing, especially our district roads. We welcome the intention of our Premier to spend vast amounts of monies to rebuild and repair our road network in our province. If we look at our municipalities, they are in deep trouble. They are at the point of collapsing. The debts that they have, they will never be able to repay that. We have to look at an alternative. This model doesn't work. We will have to have a partnership between the municipalities, the communities, and especially the business communities, in line with COCTA's small town regeneration framework. This is ANC policy. Madam Speaker, that's the only way forward. We will have to have a partnership. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I have requested both our Premier and our MEC of COCTA to allow me an opportunity. I requested an opportunity, and please allow me the opportunity to bring a specialist to do a presentation how to fine-tune COCTA's small town regeneration framework. Madam Speaker, I am not here to score political points. This is well intended. Please don't turn my request down. Please don't tell me you are not even prepared to listen. Please allow me to bring somebody, a specialist, to tell you and to do a presentation how to fine-tune your policy. I thank you.
Honorable Mashego, you're given 8 minutes.
Well, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable members of the Executive Council, Honorable members of the August House, revolutionary greetings in the name of the African National Congress. My point of departure, Honorable Speaker, is that the Premier will request that you look at Ukraine-Russia conflict and check on our students that are in Russia and look at their status through the Ministry of International Relations and look at all the protocols so that their safety is very important to us. This debate is an endorsement of last week's SOPA presentation by the Honorable Premier Mtsweni. I therefore touch base on few issues which are of critical importance in advancing our commitment to the objectives of the National Democratic Revolution, which is characterized by the creation of a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, prosperous society, and the Freedom Charter. We echo your sentiments that there is indeed an elephant in the room on the global phenomenon of youth unemployment, that it has reached unacceptable levels and it needs urgent attention. Amongst the causes that has been the fourth industrial revolution, which caught us off guard, whereby technology has taken over from the technical or physical aspect of life. It has been difficult to adjust. And Honorable Premier, we want to request that as government, we create platforms for the youth to tap into this fourth industrial revolution as emerging entrepreneurs and make sure that they benefit to the advantages that are there. In order to reduce the high number of unemployment, it is therefore critical importance that we revive our iron ore refinery industries or firms.
Day in, day out, our natural resources are exported to different parts of the world. And when they come back as refined, they are very expensive. Maybe it's time that in terms of our curriculum in the TVET colleges and other related institutions of learning, we begin to prepare ourselves to be ready. We cannot agree more with the Honorable Premier that there have been delays in the completion of newly constructed health facilities, amongst others being the unrest and some to the technical finalization of clinical briefs and related documents that need to allow the kickoff of the projects. We trust that the common ground has been reached and is not aimed at personal gain but prioritizing our people. We look forward to the commencement of the construction of the tertiary hospital in Emalahleni. It will ease the burden at Witbank Hospital and other nearby health facilities. Liabilities related to medical negligence has long been consuming a lot of the budget in the health sector. We are positive that the implementation of the provincial litigation strategy will yield positive results in preventing and reducing further litigations. We appreciate the decisive steps taken by administration ensuring that those suspected of alleged maladministration in the Department of Health on COVID and PPE have been suspended or relieved of their responsibilities. We hope that all these cases will be finalized. On GBV and femicide, we appreciate the efforts put by the ANC-led government in tackling gender-based violence, especially the proclamation of laws aimed at putting end to GBV. Honorable Speaker, recent suicide cases, especially of well-known people in the entertainment industry, necessitates that establishment of men's dialogue or forum. Men are depressed and they can't talk out. Inkinga kusima windoda ukhuluma ubonakala ngathi you are not complete and siyahlekwa and siyafa. Within a month we have been robbed of the lives as alluded by MEC for Culture, Sports and Recreation, Patrick Shai and Ricky, a seasoned actor and a music artist respectively. The indoor diculum stigma is doing a lot of damage in our society. If we do not act now, we stand to lose more influential men because men are ashamed of talking about the difficulties they face in their marriages or relationships. Honorable MEC utovumelana now. A lot of men every day face gender-based violence in a form of emotional and physical abuse. Let us therefore encourage men to speak up so that they do not bottle up and become memory. Honorable Speaker, the Premier has spoken to the manifesto of the ANC, and it is now in the hands of the deployed soldiers in various departments to ensure that they service the people of the province. Somlom, we acknowledge that we may not cover all the needs of our people at the same time, but we commit to our people first with the limited resources at our disposal. We call upon different political parties to make a difference and work together with our ANC-led government in bettering their lives. And I want to paraphrase this in the words of one of our giants, comrades, open quote, you might think that it is very difficult to wage a liberation struggle. Wait until you are in power. I might be dead by then. At that stage, you will realize that it is actually more difficult to keep power than to wage a liberation war. People will be expecting a lot of service from you. You will have to satisfy the various demands of the masses of our people. In the process, be prepared to learn from other people's revolution. Learn from the enemy also. The enemy is not necessarily doing everything wrongly. You may take his right tactics and use them to your advantage. At the same time, avoid repeating the enemy's mistakes. Close quote, Oliver Reginald Tambo in Angola in 1977. Honorable Premier, you have set the tone, and we promise to deliver services to our people. Honorable
Grobler, you are given 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Premier, Albert Einstein said, learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow, but the important thing is never stop questioning. Honourable Premier, we need to question the new unit that will be established in the Premier's office to secure funds from the private sector to complete the catalyst between projects between the private sector and government. We are opposed to this unit, Premier, because the previous Premier, Honourable Didi Mabuza, had a rapid implementation unit that he established in his office, and that rapid implementation unit left Mpumalanga 300 million rand poorer than it was before that unit was established, purely because the officials that worked with that money had their hands in the cookie jar. Honourable Premier, it's very important for public-private partnerships with government. For that to be successful, the public enterprises need to have confidence in their government. And a very good example is the Western Cape government, where they use the West Grove unit, where over the next 5 years, 10.3 billion rand will be brought to the Western Cape, because it's a government that's responsive and responsible, and they take the funds and they use it for whatever they say, Honourable MEC. So it's very important. Honourable Premier, you'll need to start stamping out corruption. You'll need to hold your officials accountable in all spheres of government, because projects like the Fresh Produce Market, the Nkomasi SEZ, the Nkosi City, and so forth will not see the light if our officials are not there to implement. These projects will be looted, like the Mkondo boarding school, which is at the moment being stripped because the contractors are given tenders and they are not there to deliver the services. Honourable Chief Whip, I agree with you. It sounded to me like you very diplomatically said that the Premier has got words, but she's failing to implement. And I want to agree with you. Honourable Mashilu, he left now, Honourable Speaker, but he spoke about the Premier that gave us hope. And I want to tell him, I don't think people in these municipalities of Mpumalanga have got hope, especially those ones who are crippled by strikes, who's been there for years and for years. You also said that the President was misquoted and that government should create jobs. So it seems like within the ruling party there's a big discussion about who should and who should not create jobs. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Slope spoke about people obsessing with the ANC, but I have to say we are not obsessed with the ANC, we are obsessed with the corruption and the lies and the incompetence of the ANC. People should go and look at the DA, who's a diverse party. I will finish up, Speaker, who's a diverse party, representing people from all race, genders, creeds, religions, and we focus on delivering services. We implement our policies and we cut out corruption. And that, Honourable Slope, is how you give a good, responsible government, like in the Western Cape and in various municipalities across this country, where the residents of those areas have real hope. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
I will now call upon the Honourable Manzini. You are given 8 minutes.
Madam Speaker, Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Honourable Premier Mary Philom Tswenitsipane, Honourable Members of the Legislature, colleagues in the Executive Council, DG, HODs, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, let me also start by sending my condolences to the family of Sedibe. I have no doubt in my mind and conscience that when the Honourable Premier concluded her visionary State of the Province address on Friday, the peace-loving people of Mpumalanga were convinced that our province is rising like phoenix rising from the ashes. Despite the ashes of poverty, unemployment, inequalities, and underdevelopment, which COVID-19 depend, the speech by the Honourable Premier reignited a hope of tomorrow, which is better than today.
This hope is based on the tangible and realistic commitments you made in your speech and the comprehensive account you gave of the work your government has done since the beginning of this administration in 2019. I stand up today to demonstrate by present facts and tangibles this government has delivered. That, Honorable Premier, through both your articulation and action, you have internalized the argument made by Africa's Chair Gavara Thomas Sankara when he correctly argued, our revolution is not a public speaking tournament, our revolution is not a battle of fine phrases. Our revolution is not as simple for sporting slogans and are no more than signals used by manipulators trying to use them as catchwords, as code words, as a foil for their own display. Our revolution is and should continue to be the collective effort of revolutionaries to transform reality to improve the concrete situation of the masses of our country, close quote. This commitment to work with all stakeholders in the province to transform and improve the hardship faces by our people of Mpumalanga compels all of us to welcome the SOPA with the necessary enthusiasm and the clear mind of rolling our sleeves and putting our shoulders on the wheel, because the Honorable Premier was not engaged in public speaking tournament or battle of phrases, as some in the opposition benches are saying. Honorable Speaker, allow me to mention a few commitments made in the previous SOPA, and the Honorable Premier delivered on the demonstrated that the Premier is not in the public speaking tournament, but she is a woman working tirelessly to change the difficult realities confronting our people. The Honorable Speaker committed to providing care to our patients suffering from cancer. I'm happy to report that her commitments in on-course, and we have opened an oncology unit for chemotherapy treatment, and we are planning to expand services to include radiation therapies. And also in Woodbank, Honorable Premier has opened another unit. The Honorable Premier committed to improving our emergency services and access to tertiary hospitals. I'm happy to report that through the Honorable Premier's guidance, we have managed to integrate PPTS into EMS 100%, which will improve access to healthcare services from the PSC to tertiary services. We will continue to prioritize the procurement of ambulances within the remaining MTSF. Honorable Speaker, this is what Thomas Sankara spoke about when he said revolution is about changing the realities of our people and should always resist the temptation of being in the speaking tournament or marriage with cash phrases. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Premier implicitly acknowledged the science that our socio-economic development as a province depends on the health of our citizens and the access our citizens have to health infrastructure. It is against science that we cannot separate the debate of our economic recovery as a province and our continued struggle to improve the health infrastructure of our citizens. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Premier Mary Philom Tsonisipane outlined the plans to respond to the effect of COVID-19 on the provincial economy and the Mpumalanga Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, which is aimed at assisting government to deal with the triple challenge of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. This MERRP is in line with the national government's reconstruction and recovery plan and was well articulated by the Honorable Premier. This plan will indeed change the material conditions of our people, as Marx put it clear that the material condition of life in which people change. History includes the three different sub-dimensions of income, consumption, and material living conditions. This plan objective is to change and impact positively on this material condition of lives of our people in the province. The MERRP is indeed a game changer, and we welcome it and encourage all of us to rally behind it and make sure that it becomes a lived reality that will change and transform the lives of the people of this province. Honorable Speaker, we all know that a productive workforce is a healthy one. Thus, the Premier paid careful attention to the health, because the MERRP will only be realized if we have a health population that is in the province post the pandemic. The Premier outlined that we need to strengthen our healthcare services system to make it more resilient should there need arise to face a similar or worse pandemic in future. We are paying special attention to ensure the overall efficiency of our healthcare system on track. This will include the attraction of retention of healthcare professionals, timely availability of medicines, and personal protective clothing for our officials. The Premier is committed, Honorable Mkhabela, that the provincial medical depot must also be 95% stock availability. Ours as a department is a commitment we are making that there will be 95% availability of medicine in all provincial health facilities. We will work around the clock in making sure that it lived a reality. We know that some of the medical stock shortages is due to theft, and we are well ahead in addressing this and making sure that we are dealing with corrupt officials. Somebody have already indicated that we are acting also as a department. So when you say that the Honorable Premier just talk about corruption, she will be remembered. I don't remember as a Mrs. What, but she is indeed instructing us to make sure that we are doing exactly. We are putting a zero tolerance on corruption, which steals from our people and nation. I'm sending a stern warning that as an MEC instructed by the Honorable Premier, will continue to roll back our gains as a department with their corrupt. We are coming for them. They must be warned. Healthcare remains an apex priority for our government as we continue to make sure that COVID-19 become a thing of the past, and we'll continue to build a strong healthcare system that is resilient and withstand future pandemic. Honorable Speaker, I stand here firmly today to appreciate our Honorable Premier, Mama Refilom Tsipane, for correctly locating the discussion and debate on improving our infrastructure in the province, including health infrastructure.
Conclude, Honorable Member.
This financial year, we are going to start with the construction of the new tertiary hospital of Mamli Namalaje and other facilities that we started for the department to increase access to healthcare services and ensure that we are a step closer to realizing ideal facilities and to roll out all the infrastructure from. Honorable Premier, we are supporting the call to prioritizing education because education will be difficult for communities, and make sure that Honorable Speaker and members of the legislature, while the declining numbers of infection give a sense of hope and relief, the virus still exists and remain dangerous. This therefore means our effort to fight it with all that we have should not stop. We must continue fighting it until it is defeated. For us to successfully defeat it, we all need to unite, close ranks, and ensure that it has no space to survive. Let all rise up and put our best foot forward and fight this invisible enemy until it surrenders. We thank the Honorable Premier for being committed to changing the reality of the people and not engaging in populist catchphrases. Our people need change and not catchphrases. I thank you.
I will now call upon the Honorable VR Shongwe. You are given 10 minutes.
Ngibonge somlomo. Ngibonga undunankulu okhona, ama-members executive, ma-members legislature, nabo bonke abakhona, Director General HODs abakhona la. Nami ngijoyine abafowethu nabodadewethu ukuzwelana nomndeni wakaSedibe ngaloko kubehlele. During the State of the Province address last week, the Honorable Premier, Ma'am Tsipane, has emphasized greatly on the 7 priorities of our medium-term strategic framework. And I must say to all of us, I think sitting here, we will all agree that it was a well-balanced speech. Anyone who wants to challenge me on that one can do that. And I must say, the reason that as this House we are not debating in the manner that I've seen KwaZulu-Natal debating the SOPA, it is because the speech was well balanced and it was talking to the issues that all of us understand and agree upon. And I want to take this opportunity and agree with you, Honorable Premier, as an MEC responsible for community safety, security, liaison. We have seen the statistics released by the Minister, and I think all of you sitting here, you will agree with me that Mpumalanga is trying under the circumstances. Number of crime categories have reduced. We do have those that have increased, but the majority of them have reduced, and under the leadership of the capable woman, who's the provincial commissioner, the Lieutenant General Manamela, we're trying as in Mpumalanga. And we want all of you to join hands with us, work with the Premier, acknowledge that as Mpumalanga, under the 2 women leadership, we are turning Mpumalanga around. do not, I understand the opposition, but amongst your responsibilities is to punch holes into the SOPA because it's part of your responsibility. But be factual when you raise matters. Read the speech properly. We will be launching a specialized team from the traffic management, which is called the TIU, and we will invite all of you to be part of it, because it's going to assist us in addressing the problem, Yama road carnages in our road, including the 9 learners that you are talking about here, that you are claiming to take us to court on. We're a team. It's not a premier speech, this one. It's the speech of the cabinet collectively. Some of the issues that you have raised, we know all of them, and I can respond without any fear or favor. And we are looking at policy matters. You know, the killing of police in the province, we know exactly that we are fighting that together with you. We have a policy that says, wabulali poisa, wabulali umphakathi. We have a rural safety strategy that is trying to protect our farmers, farm dwellers, farm workers, and everyone on the farms. And I must say to all of you that the road infrastructure that you are talking about, if you read the speech of the Premier properly, uzobona ukuthi u-indicatile ukuthi uzoba launcha a jet patch which will be a priority kule speech sakhe. Take the speech and read it in details. Don't read what you want to hear. Read what is written there and what is the program going forward. You will see that very soon the Premier and the Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport have bought that particular machine that is going to assist us in addressing some of our roads and patchwork that will be happening in the province. That is factual. We can't then, you know, reduce ukshona kwa mama ulina malaji to potholes. That is an insult. I don't think as elderly people we can come here and use ukshona kwa mama ulina malaji versus the potholes on our roads, because there's no one who can prove here ukuthi mama ulina malaji and the car that was involved in the accident was caused by the potholes. No, we must not do that. We must be factual. I'm an MEC responsible for all the accidents in the province. I know what I'm talking about.
Honorable
and I
members,
want to say,
honorable members, let me remind you about the rules of the House. Honorable members, you must be reminded about the rules of the House. The rules of the House. Honorable Grobler. Honorable Grobler and Honorable Sitole.
Can you save my time, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable members.
Can you save my time?
Honorable members, let me remind you about the rules of the House. Rule 36, subsection 2, the heading is Precedence of Presiding Officer. Whenever the presiding officer rises during a debate, any member then speaking or offering to speak must resume his or her seat. And the presiding officer must be heard without interruption. Rule 37, subsection 1, we state that members not to be interrupted. A member may not interrupt another member while speaking, except to put a question to such a member or call attention to a point of order, a question of privilege, the presence of non-members of the floor of the House. Can I request Honorable Shongwe to continue?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. They are howlers. They are not raising issues as per the procedure of the House. And I want to say, the Honorable Premier Ubene Media briefing.
Honorable Grobler, you can't undermine the rules of the House. Honorable, you are speaking, and I have raised the rules. that you must not interrupt another member. If you are raising a point of order, you must say it so. Honorable Grobler, you are recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I would then like to ask the MEC a question. Am I allowed to ask him a question?
Ngiyayifuna le question, Honorable Speaker.
Why are you answering?
Honorable Grobler, you can continue.
So I can ask the question, because I want to ask the MEC. MEC, what we are saying is, do you think we would have had this discussion if there wasn't a pothole? Because we are also respectful of the situation, but the fact is there's a pothole. So don't say we're not allowed to speak about the pothole, because if there was not a pothole, then we wouldn't have had the discussion. So if the question is, Speaker, if there was not a pothole, would we have had the discussion? Thank you, Speaker.
There wouldn't have been an accident.
Honorable Shongwe.
Honorable Speaker, akuna question la. Akuna question la. Nami uma ngingathi ngiyayiphendula mangabe kuyi-question le labantu abashona bang-9 evenini ku-R573 kuMloto Road, a very beautiful road. Was it called by a pothole? It was not called by the potholes. Not all accidents that are caused by the potholes in this province. And we must not come here and claim things that we don't know, man. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, undunankulu ube ne briefing. Ukhulumile ayikho nje indaba ye-unit yakhe in the Premier's office ekhuluma nge-unit in the office. Upremier ukhuluma.
Honorable Shongwe, can I take the point of order? Honorable Stolle. Then we'll follow Honorable Mlombo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity in terms of our rules to raise my question to the Honorable Member. The Honorable Member must just answer if there are potholes or not. That's all that he needs to answer. Muloto Road is a death trap. He mustn't even bring it here. Muloto Road has robbed many families of accidents there. So don't bring Muloto Road, because now you are even opening wounds that are bigger than what we're talking about. Are there potholes or are there no potholes? Answer.
And wounds are bigger than potholes.
Can Honorable Shongwe? Can I note Honorable Mlombo?
Honorable Chair, I rise to raise a point of order. The members are doing it deliberately. The members are doing it deliberately, undermining Rule 37, Sub-Rule 2. Look, I'm speaking, they are intervening. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Sithole. Honorable Sithole. Can you please just keep quiet?
Honorable Speaker, I want to emphasize on the point of order, Rule 37, Sub-Rule 2, that the honorable members are deliberately undermining that rule. You have called them to order, you have referred them to that rule, but they consistently continue to undermine the authority of the presiding officer. And we want to call them to order, because when they debate, we don't do what they are doing. But when we are debating, they want to deflect attention from the speech. That is not acceptable.
Honorable members, you are given an opportunity to debate the SOPA. Honorable Sithole, I reminded honorable members on Rule 36. Honorable Sithole, Rule 36. Rule 36 states that whenever the presiding officer rises during a debate, any member then speaking or offering to speak must resume his or her seat, and the presiding officer must be heard without interruption. Can I request honorable members to abide by the rules? What point of order? Because there's no one speaking. Honorable Sithole. Honorable Sithole. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Can I request Honorable Shongwe to conclude? I am the referee.
Ngiyamangala somlomo ngiyabonga somlomo ngiyamangala ukuthi nasekudebate mina bese kuba nzima kangaka kodwa ke somlomo bengifuna ukusho nje ukuthi undunankulu uke waba ne media briefing abantu bebalalele lapha yana abantu bebalalele lapha yana undunankulu ukhulumile ukuthi le unit ezaba lapha kuMega uyinikeza 3 months under the leadership of DG ukuthi ikhone uimplementa lokhu abakhuluma ngakho manje mina somlomo angizwakala nangikhuluma bayamemeza.
The time is finished, Speaker. Time is really finished.
We work with the rules. Honorable members, are you presiding officers? Are you presiding officers? I am the presiding officer here. I have allowed Honorable Shongwe to conclude the debate. Honorable members, Honorable Sithole,
Honourable Speaker.
Mhlonishwa somlomo kulena bakhuluma ngayo ye unit undunankulu ukhulume ngeMega ukuthi uyayilungisa izonikeza ireport in 3 months time izabe under the leadership ya DG and a report will come to the house and then ireport uzoyithola uSpeaker. Somlomo ngikhulume njani somlomo ngikhulume njani somlomo
Honorable members, let me remind you about Rule 40. Honorable members, let me remind you about Rule 40. Honorable members. Rule 40 states that if the presiding officer is of the opinion that a member is deliberately contravening a provision of these rules, the Constitution or any other law, in contempt of the legislature, disregarding the authority of the presiding officer, or grossly disorderly, the presiding officer may order the member to immediately leave the chamber for the remainder of the day sitting. Honorable Sithole, can you please leave the chamber? Conclude, Honorable Shongwe.
Ngiyabonga somlomo undunankulu uma ngabe bamlalele kahle ku report yakhe ukubeke kahle ngokusobala ukuthi lento ye corruption abakhuluma ngayo ukuthi akasho lutho undunankulu une program
Honorable Shongwe
uzoyenza leyo nto.
Honorable Nyembe.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Nyembe, can you please leave the house? Honorable Nyembe, can you please leave the house? Honorable Nyembe, can you please leave the house? Honorable Nyembe, can you please leave the house?
Ngisamele ni wena Nyembe uphume phela.
Honorable Nyembe, can you please leave the house?
Angikhulumi phambi kwaNyembe. Ngiyasaba ukukhuluma phambi kwaNyembe. Engayishanga iqede opposition yo. Uqede yonke. Ngiyabonga somlomo sengivala somlomo. Undunankulu ushilo ukuthi after ile khutla yakhe uzobiza i-mining and energy center la kuzokhulunywa khona ngazo zonke izinto zokuhosta i-green economy summit in the you can read that, it's there in the speech. I don't know what people are talking about, but in the absence of them, I think, Honorable Speaker, kubalulekile ukuthi ngivale ngokuthi le ndaba yezikolo zabantwana abakhubazekile. Undunankulu sowutholile umhlaba eMalahleni, and in a very short time undunankulu uyihlabile isoyi lokho kuzokwenzeka asazi ke bona ukuthi bebafunda siphi speech. Ngibonge kakhulu somlomo isikhatsi sakho nokubekezela phansi kweinhlanya ebezikhona. Kunzima ukuba ngospeaker ukusebenza neinhlanya, ngiyabonga.
That concludes the debate on the Premier State of the Province address. The Secretary shall read the second order of the day.
Order number 2, consideration of reports of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works, Roads and Transport, Community Safety, Security and Liaison. 2.1, oversight visit conducted on the 8th of December 2021 at Kwaggafontein Police Station in Thembisile Local Municipality, Department of Community Safety, Security and Liaison. 2.2, oversight visit conducted at Mkondo Local Municipality, Garsibande District on the 6th of December 2021, Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport.
I now call upon the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works, Roads and Transport, Community Safety, Security and Liaison, Honorable N. Mahlangu, to table these reports.
Ngiyabonga somlomo ngizocela indlu ehloniphekile ukuthi umukele lo mbiko njengoba uthuliwe. Ngiyabonga.
I am informed that there is no debate on these reports. Now the question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the reports as tabled by Honorable Mahlangu. Agreed to. That concludes the business for the day. You are all requested to remain standing in your places until the procession has left the chamber. The House is adjourned until Friday, the 4th of March 2022 at 10 o'clock in this very same chamber.
All right.